welcome to Strike a Match. Again, this is our 9th episode. How exciting is that? And thank you so much for being here. Big kudos out to the great Doc P and SM Enlightenment Radio for caring about positivity, caring about the change that we can make in our lives to up level and become the highest version of ourselves. We've really been through a lot, right? And the whole point, I think, of 2021 is taking charge of our lives. I think last year we had no option but to react to everything and do our best to adapt to a new world and with lots of new rules and lots of new systems. And now, not that there's a little bit of a breather, because there isn't. This is still very, very stressful. Our work in the COVID crisis is continuing. But the beauty of, SM Enlightenment Radio and the music that it offers and the programming of creating a space for you to enjoy and consider how you can change your life is the opportunity that's presented here today. The reason Strike a Match is here is because as a life coach and founder of Master Wellness Coaching, I invite you to consider what you can do to change your life. And obviously, if you're listening to this, you're doing something in that regard, and thank you so much, because it's just the strike of a match that that can really ignite a full shift of change in our lives. So we're really, really happy to be a part of this, to be creating a platform where you can consider fun things and new ideas and talk with new coaches, listen to new coaches, share their experience about why they do what they do and how it helps people change their lives. So I'm really so very happy to be here. It is almost April, but we are certainly in spring. So hope that you're getting some fresh air, getting outdoors, putting a little bounce in your step, and looking forward to what a new season brings. So, and here, especially on the East Coast, winter is pretty tough, and spring is a very welcome change. So here we are. So today I'm going to start with a fun fact, because I love to let you know that I'm not the only resource that you have about whether or not coaching is right for you. There are all kinds of Google things that you can do to find out what the truth is about coaching. And we're utilizing Tom Cassano's contribution on the HuffPost digital magazine about fun facts about life coaching. So today, this is our fun fact of the day. So coaches can be an integral part of your support system. And what does that mean? Well, when we are in reflection, when we want to pause, as this image captures, that moment where we slow down and get quiet, a whole lot of information can come up. And the beauty of a coach is that he or she is participating in that awareness, that resource that you're tapping into in that quiet space. And many coaches have a system of which they can take you through this support that is specific to what you want. So in this image, you can see that this is a mindfulness image. And my coach today, Amy Douglas, is a mindfulness coach in how she approaches health and wellness. And so I know for me that if I just try to do this by myself, I'm not consistent. I'm certainly not committed, and it's a lot harder. So having a coach that will, integrate your wellness journey is a real value that you might not be able to have in another way. So that's the consideration today, is that to understand and appreciate that coaching can be an integral part of your support system. And, I think that the thing that's important to know is that coaches show up for you, and they show up for the situations that happen in your life. So I have a client that had to cancel this afternoon, because a crisis came upon their family. Their rescue dog got startled and attacked one of the kids, a grown child in her 20s, but startling and not safe and not healthy for anybody. So the family has to decide what to do. And there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness. And so although Liz canceled her private session today, I'm going to go over and be an independent advocate for each of the people in this family that have an opinion, have feelings about this. And, does every coach do that? No, because lots of this work is done virtually. But it's something that I can do. And that's the integral support that my coaching model, because I'm a family life coach, and I know Liz's children, and I know her husband. I actually officiated their wedding back in October. So there's a connection there. And not every coaching situation becomes that, but many do. Much of what this work is about is that real safe place that you find yourself with in a coach's support of what you need and how to get there. So I'm really excited also to introduce you to Amy, because she was my coach in school for a year. And she's a wonderful girl. Oh my God, she has helped me through so much stuff, anchoring me into what do I want, that big question. What do I want? And what stands in the way of you getting it? And, that drip that we go into negativity. Oh, the heaviness and the burden. And, it takes it takes more than just a decision to get out of it. So it sometimes takes an advocate, a coach, to really anchor that you can find the peace of mind that you're looking for. So one of the other ways that we do it, and I'm going to show you my cartoon next, is the way this dude is doing it. Here you go. I wish who's ever running my life would just disappear. Oh, where'd he go? Oh my gosh, right? How many times have I, done this on my own, and it just was not great. Making the same mistakes over and over, ending up in the same results, looking to blame somebody else. So this is kind of poignant that, we sometimes are our own worst enemy. Here we are, looking to blame somebody else, when in truth, we're the one standing in the way. So, the reason I love to bring this comedy into our show is, we can get serious, and we can be enjoy the fact that this is a whole new realm. Coaching is a whole new strategy. It's a whole new style of self-help, and not self-help, but, personal growth. And it's the opposite of self-help. But making that decision is about self-care. So maybe we could, just ponder right now for just a minute, what's that part of your life right now that isn't working? For me, a couple of weeks ago, I started to run scared about being a coach, and I got my resume ready, and I went back to the job search and started looking for a nursing job again. And I went on an interview, and I left nursing because I wasn't making a difference the way that I wanted to. And here was this interview where I was in a recovery-based setting, but I was to be in charge of 27 patients with one other nurse. Admissions, med administration, med reconciliation, safety. And I was like, whoa, yeah, I don't want to go there. But I went in my fear place, I went all the way back to what I had given up 3 years ago, because I was not so sure that what I was doing here as a coach was solid enough so then what did I do? I hired a new coach. And I'm on solid ground again, because what happened was I had spent since December, when Amy and I stopped working together, I had been here on my own. And, good measurement. Your coach should have a coach, because we can only take you as far as we're willing to go ourselves. And I love the fact that I got so stuck that I was trapped in my resistance, that being an entrepreneur and a life coach was too hard. But it's not. It's exactly where I belong and what I want to do. So our next element here is the positive tip for a better life. And it is about resistance and surrendering. Here you go.
Positive tips for a better life with Terry Finnegan Lynch.
It's so interesting how often we find ourselves in resistance to change rather than surrendering. But it is funny, because resistance means that we're sacrificing something, the opportunity, and surrendering is actually empowerment to the opportunity. So consider both and make your choice next time you need to change. I'm a health and life coach, and these are Terry's positive tips for a better life.
WSME.
So why this paradigm is so significant is the response that resistance has is that I'm sacrificing something. If I do that, then I'm giving something up. And the beauty of surrender is that it really empowers opportunity. So a week or so ago, I was resistant that I could be successful. And, we all have that feeling in our careers at one point or another. And so I was believing that I had to sacrifice my safety in being an entrepreneur and maybe not being able to pay my bills. And when I experienced the actual follow through of being afraid and looking at an old routine, an old pattern, an old idea, I was like, no. I need to surrender. I need to surrender to the opportunity of what coaching is and the beauty of what it does for people. And it is truly a stage of enlightenment to access the training that a life and health coach brings to the table. Because as individuals, we don't have it. And even as a trained coach, I need someone to guide me. So I did. I hired an entrepreneurial coach. And Travis has up-leveled my work in 10 days. I'm a totally different coach than I was. Well, business person. I'm still the same coach. I'm a brilliant coach. I'm just not a great business person. So I have to learn how to do that, right? So what happened there? Well, boom, an obstacle hit me square in the nose. And I got frightened and I ran and I did what I usually do. I backpedaled. I'm going to go back to what I used to do. And when I realized, that, and I'm glad that I went through all of that. It was a very good experience. It was very solidifying to what I wanted to do in my life. But what it reminded me of was what I was feeling when this all started, is a program that I offer in my coaching model. And it is Decoding Body Wisdom. So decoding body wisdom is when a discomfort, pain shows up in our life. It has, or an illness, it has two messages. One is that I'm sick. And the other is the invitation to ask, is there an unmet need that I'm ignoring, that is showing up in the physicality of my body to get my attention? So last week, a week before, my anxiety was up. I was getting tummy aches and, not sleeping well. And, I was going into an illness, so to speak. And had I actually remembered about decoding body wisdom, then I would have realized that my body was signaling that I was afraid. I sleep beautifully when I'm not afraid. I don't have an upset stomach or just don't eat for all day. And so decoding body wisdom is this beautiful practice that you can learn through coaching about how to pay attention to what your body is showing you when there is an illness or a discomfort coming up, being demonstrated in my body. And then we look deeper and we say, so what is that saying? What do we need to know about ourselves? What am I ignoring that if I did pay attention to it, I would literally physically feel better? And then the information that I'm getting from that is the answer to my problem. So in this, I am, when I only look at illness as illness, I need to go to the doctor or I need to take medication or whatever it might be. If that's the only response I have to an illness, then what might be underneath is lost. And so the beauty of having a relationship with a coach is that we can remind you of these tools and these skills of how to pay attention to the organic nature of our body. Our body always wants to seek equilibrium. It always wants to be in balance. And when it's not always just physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's soulful. And so when we partner with a coach and we share these shifts in our physical being and in our emotional state, there's information that we can provide to manage that beyond Tylenol or Mucinex or these other remedies that we think will make the illness better. And it does. And there's also this other virtue of when our body is giving us information about what's underneath. And we often will find that body, that pain body, that illness shows up the same way for me and a different way for you. So I was doing a workshop and I asked the gals that were in the room, so when you get stressed, where does your pain body show up? And, one girl goes, oh, my jaw. I start grinding my teeth. And another one talked about her back. And another one talked about having to run to the bathroom all the time. And, the information behind that is, and I asked Lauren, so when you're feeling stressed, do you actually speak up for yourself? She's like, oh, hell no. And so here it is, a pain that shows up in her jaw where she doesn't express herself. And, so there's really a correlation between where your body responds to the stress and what it might mean, kind of in a very intrinsic way. But it's really a curious thing about how one person will hold pain in their belly and another person will hold pain in their neck. And another one will be absent of sleep and another one won't eat food. So, when we are in these places and we think it's just illness, it might be so much more than that. And decoding body wisdom is an amazing tool to help us get there. So I hope that's a help with you today. I am going to take a break. Hi, welcome back. During the break, there's this beautiful music that plays that Doc P created for me. And, it settles my heart, and it reminds me of how grateful I am to have this opportunity to talk with you, to share about coaching and about how meaningful this is for all of us that entered this field. One of the most significant parts of coaching is the fact that this is about rapport. It's about connection. It's about finding the person that you resonate with. And I'm delighted to bring Amy Douglas to the show today. As I mentioned, she coached, she was my coach in school for a whole year in my Mastery All-Star program. And gosh, she brought me through so many challenges. This is the match piece, guys. This is where we invite you to, earlier I said, what is it that you want? What's missing? What do you need? And now it's the opportunity to say, would this person help me? Do I connect with this person? So welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Terry. I am thrilled to be here today.
It's great to have you. Great to have you. So I follow a little bit of a format in each of the coaches that I chat with, and it's the most important question is, how did you come to be a coach, and who do you serve, and what's that journey been like for you? And so the audience has an idea of how'd you get here?
Right. So how, that best kept secret of how I came into coaching is I hired a coach myself. And I did it very secretly, Terry, which, it's interesting because I kind of attract clients who do that as well. They don't really tell people what they're doing. And I think there's a little bit of a mindset that thinks that if you're working with someone, then that means maybe something's wrong, which isn't true. We know that's not true. But for me, it started with some health things and things that Western medicine couldn't diagnose for me. And, I know your history as a nurse, and what really it was I was just so out of alignment with the way I was showing up in the world. I was presenting myself in the way that I thought I should be showing up instead of where my desires were. So you said it beautifully. What do you want? What stands in the way of you getting it? And that's what I was able to uncover for myself whenever I hired a coach. And so as I was working through that, I'm also very much of a trust but verify kind of person. And I was so curious about the questioning and the way her thought process worked and how she helped me reveal blind spots I didn't even know that I had. And so, of course, I went and got the education, again, very secretly. I had a corporate job where I wasn't supposed to be doing that kind of thing, right? So I did it behind the scenes. I took a vacation to go to our beautiful retreats, right? And it came to the point where I was working with practice clients. I couldn't wait to get up to work with them. And the days that I was doing my 9 to 5, getting up for that, I saw the misalignment. I'm like, this is too good not to share with the world. And so the rest is history. And
let me ask you then, is the decoding body wisdom part of that journey?
Oh my goodness. I mean, are you kidding me? It's such an epic part of the journey.
Yeah.
I had no idea that my body was trying to tell me what was going on, right?
Right.
And it's our greatest messenger, and it gets louder and louder until we listen. And so for some people it's too late because they don't listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I love that. I know it's in my sequence of coaching, it's I think session 8, because we're not ready for it in, at the beginning of the exploration.
No.
It's a lot of information, and there's a lot of vulnerability in admitting that I carried that burden for so long, and I used it to do all kinds of things, justify or
of course.
So I happened to choose that today because that was what I was going to do with my client this afternoon, and now I'm going to do a family help out as they process this situation with their pet. But so you are West Coast, right?
No, I'm East Coast like you. I'm Indianapolis.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
How come I didn't know that? Because I am not a verifier. I just trust completely.
Which I love. Yeah. What do we have to verify? And I've released a lot of that, Terry. So I'm at that point in my life, it was like, oh, well, I better dissect that and figure that out for myself. Which, by the way, if you know anything about human design, that is in my profile. It very much, I want to experience it first for myself before I can then share it with others. So, I'm modeling that right here.
Yes.
And you asked a little bit of like what type of coaching, where I feel like I fit in. And of course, as you can relate to, it evolves as you learn and you grow. And it really, it's really all about mindset. That's if I were to have to put a label to it, I'm a mindset mentor or a mindset coach. Mm-hmm. What I do is I help others release or let go of, whatever languaging feels good, of those limiting beliefs that have been holding them back from having, being, or doing whatever it is they desire, right? It's helping them let go of what's standing in the way of them having or experiencing what they ultimately desire in their lives. Because when I ask people what do they want, they don't know.
I know.
They're not asked that. And so then whenever I do get them to be able to answer it, all these limiting beliefs start firing off. So those are the ones we work through, because as you and I know, those are not our truths. They're stories, they're programming, they're conditioning, they're societal, they're external, all of it.
I have a phrase I say, most of us are living a story that somebody else wrote for us. Yes. So would you like to be the author of your own story, right?
Yes.
But we need to know what the title is.
Right.
Like, who am I, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, strike a match. Like, what is it that you want? And I know that, I think that's the biggest resistance. I don't know about you, about why people have, not taking the action to go into this kind of support is, well, I don't really know what's missing.
I think it's fear too, right?
Yeah.
When people, are curious, but then don't allow themselves to take the leap, I think it's because they are willing to stay with what's familiar, almost even comfortable. Even though it's not moving the needle, it's the fear of the unknown, that the perceived fear, right? We know what fear is. It's false evidence appearing real. And what I do is I work with them to help them face everything and rise, which is the way I like to refer to fear. And, if they're not ready, they're not ready.
Yeah.
Right? I can't want it more than they do. You've heard me say that.
No.
I can't want it for you more than you do.
Well, how many times had I reached out to you in that fear place, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it was always where my stuckness came from, my backpedaling, and, I did it again,
I heard, yeah.
And, what I love about, the coaching model is that, like, even if we do repeat an old pattern, we recognize it and we learn from it. I think that's really the beauty of recycling something, is because we've shifted, we can't stay in the old information. We may experience the same pattern, but we can't accept the information that we're getting, that this is okay.
Right.
The comfortable becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a client tell me, because one of the things that I work with my private clients on is I get them to pick one day out of the 7 days in between our sessions to write down their entire thoughts for the day. And trust me, nobody likes to do that, but it's a really powerful experience because that's where we find some patterns. And what happens is once they become aware of those patterns, she said, I can't be unaware. And now I'm more aware of those around me. And I said, use that as a gift. Use that as a needle mover, because this is the beauty of when you have that support and accountability of someone else listening and being that sound barrier or sounding board, right? To hear what's going on and asking those beautiful questions to help them be able to see something differently. That just is the catalyst for the change that they are so ready for. The transformation from that place, when they're allowing themselves to become acutely aware of the role they're playing and what they do not want to be experiencing in their lives, is huge.
You know, and they're incremental small shifts that we're inviting, you know. I have a 24-year-old, I think I may have mentioned her in last week's session, where we were just clearing the clutter, you know, and she's like, I can't even look at clutter anymore. You know, she's like, it makes no sense to me. Like my programming has literally shifted from, you know, saving this memory from 8th grade forever in a box in my basement. And, you know, one of the things that she was doing was she had this part-time job that was like killing her. She worked 1 day a week at this place. And I'm like, what about letting go of that? And she's like, oh, no, money, control. And I got a text and she said, our puppy is now ready for pickup in Indiana. And I gave CVS my notice. She's like, I know that I can't bring in more if I don't let go of what's not serving me.
It's so true.
And it just went like that. Like all of a sudden now, these things are all starting to make sense in the new movement towards opening up and creating, instead of that tight grip of holding on. And they're just, they're not places that we can go alone.
Oh, Terry, I know for a fact I would still be in the corporate job that was killing me.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have taken the leap to make this commitment for wanting something to be different for myself.
Yeah.
You know, and what you were just sharing for her, I mean, I hung on to that job. I had all of these safe, secure, I'm a single mom raising 2 kiddos. One was in a private college, all of these stories. That one by one, I was like, oh, well, that's not even true. That's not even true. That's not even true. And the level of freedom that I feel, and as you and I both know, I have no sense of absolute certainty what my, you know, the financial impact, all of that security, but the way that I live, the way that I get to show up in the world, the way that I haven't set my alarm for over 2 years since I left my corporate, because I cannot wait to get up every day.
Right. And look at your home. I mean, look at the simplicity and the lines of freedom. You can see it everywhere in your space. You know, and what I always promise everyone that I work with is where you were or are is not bad or wrong.
Nope.
It's just where you got to, right? Mm-hmm. And so we don't have to, like, you know, blackball it. Nope. What we do want to ask is, what else would you like? And what does that look like? And can you safely create that idea in these sequences of shifting that ultimately transform our world? And, you know, having been trained under you as a student and guided by you as a coach, I know that one of your greatest strengths is celebrating. You always made me feel so empowered. You know, I would come away from them like, whoa, I'm pretty good. Because, you know, that's what we're called coaches, but we're cheerleaders, right? Like we're holding this space of enthusiasm and empowerment and hope and creativity with you.
Well, we see the vision that you can't yet see for yourself, right? And we hold that until you can. That's what we need to do.
Love it. So love it. Yeah. So tell me, these are a couple of questions that I like to check in with the coaches. What do you, and you did mention it already. So the number one reason that you experience that people say no is
fear. They're just not ready.
Yeah. So how, what do you do with that person? Do you continue to stay in touch with them? Do you just let it ride and have them experience what they need to experience? How do you help the person that is not ready?
Interestingly enough, I've had several of them that come back around. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 6 months, and I just hold that space for them. They might get something from me from time to time. I do share with them in the conversation, as you know, that we're having to, identify if we're a match, that it's okay if it's not me, but if not me, then who?
Right.
Because we've identified that there's a gap somewhere from what you're wanting to be experiencing versus what you're actually experiencing. And when we have identified that gap is on a scale of 1 to 10 is a solid 10, sometimes it's even higher, then you've identified there's something that gets to shift.
Right.
And so I want them to walk away with a tool, a resource, a path, even if it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes when we do walk away and it's not me, which, I'm not attached to the outcome, I hold the space for whatever, they're aligned with, I might check in. That's often what I'll do. I'll just say, how are things going?
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I also have that space holder that they will find their way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
I believe that's true too. I mean, I'm, as a family coach, I'm kind of entering at least in my experience, a kind of a different realm where I want to coach parents and kids and brothers and sisters, and kind of approach this as a family. And so it's you got to get a few people to agree. Mm-hmm. And when that doesn't happen, at least I know that I've given the family the possibility that this is there for them, should there be anyone who becomes willing or feels the need to have that. And so it's a different. I'm awakening to my own challenge that's a big ask for a family.
Yes.
To all get on board, or at least to get on board. But I was reflecting about why this is so important to me. And when I got sober 18 years ago, I went through the recovery process with Alcoholics Anonymous, and in that 12-step program is making an amends. And what I loved about that aspect is it's not saying I'm sorry. It's about asking, what do you need for restitution for the harm that I've caused? And so my son, Brian, he's like, I really don't care that you're helping women stay sober. He was really like, just, I don't care. He said, what I really do care about is that you help kids not get drunk. And, for a long time, I was still a sponsor. I was in that program of support of mentoring women in recovery. But at one point along the way, I met a gal that we worked with for a couple of years together, and her son was 6 when we met. And a few years later, she said, you can tell Brian you fulfilled your promise.
Mm.
And, do I have an abundance of these stories of mothers and sons or dads and daughters? No. But for every story that I do have about it, it's probably the most powerful shift that we can give the world, is to have a family healed.
Yes.
So, so when I look at my no's, why people are saying no, and why they say yes, my yeses is that the pain body got so great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they just can't do it anymore.
Yep.
And so I kind of took the question away from you with my answer. But, what about, how does that work for you when people come around again, or they say yes in the moment? What do you feel is the space that they're holding at that time?
I think the biggest piece, and we do this, is allowing them in that conversation to see that future version of themselves and feel it and what's available for them from that place.
Right.
And we get to have that placeholder there, and they can see it. They can allow themselves, even if just ever so slightly, believe it's possible, and they're ready for the support and accountability to help them get there.
Yeah. So we have a term for that called MOFA, motivating factor. But break it down into real simple, like I've never heard this before. Explanation of that. What are you asking a client, a potential person, to consider?
What do you mean with their future version of themselves?
Yeah, like how give them the really like dumbed down version of how you introduce that.
Well, I like to ask them right there from that point, what is it that they want? If they could wave a magic wand, if they could, sprinkle fairy dust on them, whatever they align with, and let go and shut off all the things. There's no geographic, financial, educational, let go of all those and see, this crystal ball of what would be possible for them. And then just pick something. And they always have something. Mm-hmm. And then I invite them to start describing it.
That's awesome.
What do they see? What do they feel? And I will give them a few cues, right? To get a little further with it. But the more clear we are in sharing what we want, the more clear our results are going to be. The more vague, the more vague our results are going to be.
Yeah, that's the magic, and I always, for me, that's session 2, and it's always the hardest session. Where the person is actually, locking in on that vision, the magic wand vision of who they deserve and want to be.
Yes.
I have one client, and he's like, I want to be, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but Obama and Batman. He wanted that class and the leadership and the quality and the excellence, and then he wanted his cape. Yeah. And within 4 months of our working together, he was killing it at work. He was landing clients and had a voice in the boardroom, and and it was extremely powerful. But he would go into the bathroom and he would put on that jacket and he would put on his cape and he would show up in that meeting, and he was this inspiration. It was more of a cartoon character than anything, but it truly worked for him.
And I love that.
So it's really fun that we hold that space, that we create the invitation for folks to say, really, anything?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, is getting them, just giving them, holding that space, giving them permission to ask for what they want.
That's great. So would you believe 25 minutes is already over?
I know. It goes so fast when we talk about what we love. Yes.
Yeah, it's about what we love. So, Amy, your website is your name?
It's amyadouglas.com.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And a mindfulness coach. Let's clear out what doesn't serve you, find out what will.
Yes, very much so. Completely empowered, fully loving and accepting of themselves and the life they allow themselves to create, for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. Firsthand experience. This woman moved the needle with me. I wouldn't be the coach that I am without her guidance on getting through my personal stuff. It wasn't really anything about my training. It was all about the stories that I had that was blocking me from being a great coach. And so, and that happens in every part of our lives, whether it be relationships, health, careers, So,
yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
It's been an honor. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. And check out my dear friend, Amy Douglas, at amyadouglas.com for support in your mindful journey of wellness. Oh, I love doing this. My heart goes out to you guys for being here to the end of the show. Thank you for staying here with us. Thank you to SM Enlightenment Radio for their vision of positivity. Thank you for the great Doc P for being my producer and friend. And I look forward to our show next week. I am Terry Finnegan Lynch. I am the founder of MasterWellnessCoaching.com. And I invite you to join me with your family on a wellness journey that will serve you. Have a wonderful day.